Greetings, programs. This is Wretch, and welcome back to VTM Night Road. Now, we had kind of a tense meeting with Prince Leteau in the last stream. He was under the assumption that our bosom buddy was the one responsible for diablerizing his friend, and we were able to convince him otherwise. And now we have a new line of quests to do that's going to pay us 9,000 a pop. I don't know how I finagled my way out of that, but finagled my way into that, but I am not going to argue. Now, out of all the stuff that we have, we can destroy Reramouse, who is essentially a Methuselah. We can go to Dallas and stomp a few Inquisition goons on the way through, maybe, because they got hit very hard by the Second Inquisition. Or we can go to Biosphere 0, which is where the Tremere were doing research. I guess you guys can probably guess where I'm wanting to go. So, let's go ahead and go with this. I think I'll start at Biosphere 0. I'm curious about the sort of research that went on there. Let's start wherever you like, Wretch, Leteau says. I'll have more information for you tomorrow night. Oh, and one last thing. Stay off the highways. The SI's contacts in regular government and police agencies are all over them. That'll slow you down, and it's only a 2-night trip instead of one. That seems to be the signal for your departure. Dove rises and opens the door. You feel Prince Leteau's gaze on your back as you leave, but you and he are separated by so many centuries that you don't know what it means. In that moment, you suddenly feel human again, and you don't like it. You return to your penthouse and park the BMW. That day you dream of flying, but this isn't a regular flying dream. No, this isn't even a dream. A memory? Or is it real? You're in an old single-engine prop plane high above the desert at night. You can almost reach out and touch the moon. You spot the Italian fighter plane too late, and a moment later its twin Vickerses are ripping into the wings of your Albatross D3. You twist through the air, but it's getting late and the rising currents of hot air you rely on are almost depleted. Bullets shred your engine. The black smoke would choke you if you breathed. For the past 3 weeks, it had seemed as if all of the Sahara held only 2 planes. In seconds, you realize it will hold only one. Flames spread across your cockpit as you contemplate what you've learned in these last horrific few weeks. Curse you, Red Baron! May 1916. If there's one thing centuries of war have taught you, it's that you miss the good life. You don't consider yourself greedy exactly, and cannot only have a few real needs, but a nice haven where dappled moonlight spills down into a scented garden, soft music and softer silk, security, peace, wealth, contentment. Maybe a few fat gold coins to let slide through your fingers. By God, is that too much to ask of the world? Now, we're seeing this through Ayla, forgot how to pronounce her name. We haven't heard a whole lot of info about her, though, other than she was Leteau's friend. So let's go ahead and say, kind of in the middle. I like the finer things, but I don't exactly need them. You shake off these strange notions of luxurious living and drag yourself up out of sleep. You're not in North Africa during the Great War. You're not Elia. Elia is dead and gone. You're Wretch, and the sun has just set, and you have work to do. Where to tonight? Well, it is time to unlock further secrets of the blood. Because we got 9 experience points. And we are going to get that mighty 5th dot that 3rd dot, used to be 5th, in blood sorcery. We're going to go ahead and max that out, guys. Bam. Blood sorcery increased. I think that's going to prepare ourselves for our acquirement of a ghoul, which I actually think is going to be the first thing that we do during this stream. Yes, it is time to get a ghoul, Chris. So, get in the BMW and go somewhere else. Let's look at our stats. What are we missing right now? Oh god, we are missing, food with our mighty hunger of 4. Oh, we have 2 Masquerade violations. What? Oh, yeah. Whoops. Just, whoops. That's all you can say. Oh, yeah. I remember the first thing that we were going to do. We were going to go to Paragon Fitness and see if we can go ahead and get ourselves... You tune the BMW's radio to hear the news. This is Melpomene Chen, and you're listening to Mel at Midnight. Big news out of Phoenix, where St. Basil's hospital director Chance Corelli has been arrested for her part in an opioid trafficking operation. As you know, listeners, St. Basil's has been a blister on the inner thigh of Phoenix for years, and as you know, it's illegal to steal drugs from a hospital and sell them to criminals. We wish Director Corelli a long, long life behind bars for her terrible crimes. Will this change in leadership make St. B's any better? I doubt it. Yeah, planning a story. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to have to do. Spend a little bit of upkeep. Oh, we need 6 XP for the decks. Okay. Fine. Be that way. So let's talk to the Gila monster about planning a series of false stories. Get our Masquerade rating down. You step up a meeting with the Gila monster at a Burger King and explain your needs. The misdirections you're spreading are fairly interesting, so he doesn't ask too many questions. Though, of course, he wants to get paid. You slide him a manila envelope that contains both the $500 and the lies you want him to spread. He counts it on the table, then says, I'm your man. See you on the airwaves. There's a dominate option? Well, I've got plenty of money. I'm not that worried about it. There was. It's okay. Alright, so... we got Rainer's Imported Autos. Corbo Used Books. Paragon Fitness. The Viper. And we need to spend some money and acquire some blood. Alexander provides you with a graphic artist who has grown addicted to the kiss, and you're soon sated. Money well spent. Alright, well, I'll keep my eyes open on those options if they present themselves. Again, but first, let us go to Covenant Pawn Shop. We've got almost 10 grand. I think that Raspberry Pi laptop is going to be a decent investment. So let's go for that. We got our blood sorcery and we got our technology. I do kind of want to get the fancy sword. But I do need to check the car prices first. We will wait. Rainer's Imported Autos. Rainer waves to you through the floor-to-ceiling window when he spots you outside. Now, this is all stuff that we've seen. Okay. So we've got the Acura Integra, the Toyota Tacoma, the Saab 900 Turbo, the Mazda RX-7 convertible. I'm actually not a fan of any of these. To tell you the truth, I think we may stick with the BMW. Oh, we've got more. 19. Okay, let's go ahead and see our options here. Okay, we had a 1987 Toyota Supra. Oh, good lord. So let's examine it. The cocaine white Supra looks great on the outside, but while the interior is sports car cheap, it's held up well over the years. But someone tore this Supra apart and rebuilt it for speed. That's both good and bad. When you take it on the road, you find that the little Toyota is indeed fast as hell. It's maneuverable too, with none of the sacrifices in handling you were expecting. But the engine is a tangle of tubes and the electrical is shaky at best. This car is incredibly fragile, but it can really hustle. We've got a TIE Fighter. So for you guys wondering, this is what the Toyota looks like. So yeah, that is definitely an 80s car, for sure. It even's got the rising and lowering headlights. Next up after that is a 2001 Audi. Ooh. The Silver TT is a small, fun little car. You're not exactly here for fun, though, but when you take it out on the road, you're impressed. It's fast in straightaways and a little devil in turns. You'd like to take the Audi out of town and tear up some winding desert roads. The interior is nice, too, with red leather seats and trim. The TT is a bit fragile, but that's the price you pay for such a small, maneuverable car. Okay. Audi TT.
Ready, player one.
Basehead, thank you very much for that, host. I appreciate you. Okay, there's the Audi. Nice, sleek. Kind of on the down low. Okay. So that's a 3-speed, a 4 maneuverability, and a 2 in durability. Not bad. What about the 2008 Ford Ranger XL? My first vehicle actually was a 71 Ford Ranger XLT. Had a 428 Cobra jet engine in it. That truck was very special. This beast is designed to haul heavy loads and not slow down. Pickups can be worked into the dirt, so you inspect this bone-white Ford carefully for signs of mechanical problems. But it looks great. When you take it for a test drive, it's rock solid, and you discover that it has surprisingly good speed and handling for such a big machine. Speed 2, maneuverability 2. Let's see. Ford Ranger XL. So here's the Ford Ranger. Let me go ahead and show you the, just for a laugh. There you go. That was my first vehicle. It was a heavy-duty little truck. I loved it. Memories. Let's see what our final option is. A 1984 Porsche 928. Let's see. Oh, hello there. The 1928 has a somewhat mixed reputation, with none of the fearful adulation that surrounds the 911. But this round black sports car surprises you when you take it out for a spin. It shifts smoothly, revs well, and displays a surprisingly pleasant mix of stupid fast and dangerously maneuverable. Someone could definitely kill themselves in this thing, but they died happy. So, oh wow, the 1984 Porsche is $16,000. Ooh, I mean, it does kind of make sense. The speed and maneuverability of the Audi. Hey, Gerald. Out of these options right now, guys, I would say. Man, the Porsche is nice, and if we get it, like, upgraded, the speed would be 5, maneuverability would be 4, and durability would be 3. But if we buy the Audi and build it up, it would have a speed of 4, maneuverability of 5, and durability of 3. So it would be a little bit slower, but it would be easier to handle. There's another batch later on? Wow. Keep checking back. Well, that's right. We are getting $9,000 a pop for our missions, aren't we? Okay. That is good to know. Should we go ahead and get, yeah, we're going to be getting paid a lot more. What do you guys think? Should we get that, Raspberry Pi laptop? Because that Wakizashi is going to cost us $3,000. Cap fancy sword that I never use. That's the thing. Like, I've got a dex of 1 and a combat of 1. Like that bayonet should pretty much. It does match up with the background, but yes, but have you considered fancy sword? Alright, this is something I'm going to go ahead and let you guys choose. Okay? You guys are all wanting fancy sword, aren't you? Okay, fine. I trade in my cutlass for 150 and buy the Wakizashi. Elena hands you the Wakizashi in its sheath. She also throws in a bottle of koji oil and roll of those fancy little rice paper bags for maintaining the blade, plus a half-off coupon for a knife sharpener who knows what to do with the Wakizashi. Okay, that wasn't bad. That was just 150. Is the tier 3 sword a katana? It probably is. And you know what? We're going to go ahead and buy the Raspberry Pi laptop as well. You sure you can handle it? Elena asks. It's like a Dodge Challenger Hellcat instead of a plastic rectangle. Oh, excuse me. Oh, Elena asks. Like it's a Dodge Challenger Hellcat instead of a plastic rectangle. It's hard to say no to this little machine. It's perfectly put together. It's easily customizable. And it even looks like an Atari portfolio, like in that old movie. You make the purchase and slide it under your silkscreen jacket. Yes? Don't call me out like that. I have a laptop, but what I want to put together is a complete intrusion, infiltration, and spoofing kit. Can I do that with what I see here? You wander around Covenant Pawn Shop like people used to do at Radio Shack, picking up odds and ends, wires, connectors, RFID readers, blank key cards, voltmeters, and so on. While you're at it, you also add a selection of skeleton keys and mechanical lock breakers. Elena follows you, fascinated, and gets you to explain what you're doing. When you're done, you've produced the perfect kit for hacking into just about anything, mechanical or electronic. Elena, yeah, can we get an F in chat for Radio Shack, please? Elena throws everything in a case logic bag, puts that in a display case, and writes with a flourish, Specialty Crafted Data Intrusion Kit, now only $22.50. Covenant Pawn Shop not responsible for legal issues arising from the use of this kit. Why not? Why not? You pay, and Elena tosses you the case logic bag full of the equipment you assembled. And we don't really do guns, so we will leave Covenant. We still got $2,702. That ain't bad. Oh, we could talk to her, but I don't think... Yeah, you basically have an option to make her your ghoul, but you're only allowed one. And that would be nice, but I prefer to get Vani. Remember when we had money? It started with people wanting me to have a sword, and it just kind of snowballed. Oh, by the way, that right there is the 1984 Porsche 928. So that is the cream of the crop right now. So, time to go to Vani's laboratory. I would love to get Kit installed in the car. Wretch, wait, I'm only allowed turbo boost once per episode. Vanya is busy in her lab, and she still needs your help. Okay, I'll help you stop Giselle. Let's get to work. Whenever I do, it'll take brains to outsmart a witch. Vanya brightens and assumes the posture of a senior lecturer, though she's half your age.
I see this as a two-step process, the researcher declaims. First, we need to research Giselle and learn exactly what she can throw at us. Second, we need to find a way to stop her attacks, the birds, the accidents, and maybe even stop her outright.
She hands you a ledger.
I've logged every unusual event over the past few weeks, but while I'm familiar with the blood sorcery of Clan Tremere, Giselle isn't a vampire. She's doing something else. Academic research might turn up more information that we can use.
Well, we could try delving into the local occult scene. They're a creepy and unsavory bunch, but with enough patience we might be able to get them to talk to us. You also see one final possibility. You could watch those ravens. They don't seem to bother you, but if you keep your eyes open, you might be able to follow them back to wherever they came from. Okay. Well, we've got int and academics for days. So. Yeah, and our knowledge of sorcery will help here. You return to Corbeau Used Books to conduct your research. The proprietor regards Vanya with undisguised loathing, but you sweep past him and get the researcher installed in the back room. And then you start gathering books, and more books, until Vanya is nothing but a puff of black hair hidden behind ancient tomes in a dozen languages. Your research takes all night, and then all the next night, but you slowly piece together what you're facing. Her witchcraft, or whatever you call it, is far more flexible and dynamic than your own. In fact, your own clan has spent centuries trying to recapture the creative spark that lies at the heart of human magic, without success. If Giselle has half the power of these human mages you read about, she can command beasts and the elements, see the past and the future, and warp fate itself with nothing but ferocious will and a few words of power. But she's not invincible. Her powers are flexible but also fragile, contingent upon iron willpower, bordering on delusion, and it seems a kind of willing suspension of disbelief even among her victims. Ideological hostility, inconsistencies with her own belief system, even an incompatible environment can dampen her powers.
No wonder she was so weak at KXG, Vanya says. It was more than her blood bond driving her mad and Dr. Call exploiting her. Witches don't belong in laboratories. Maybe we can work with that.
Your dreams that day are full of runes and skulls of animals. You awaken the moment the sun crosses the horizon and peer out the nearest window. The ravens are waiting for you. They don't challenge you as you walk to your BMW, but you waste no time driving to Vanya's lab. When you ring the doorbell, she doesn't buzz you in for a full minute. The ravens slowly accumulate outside. You get inside and make sure the door is locked. There's a dead cat on the floor of the front office. Its brains have been bashed out. You find Vanya in the unisex bathroom, stripped to her bra and underwear, cleaning scratches of her shoulder with shaking hands. When she sees you, and you see her blood, she slams and locks the door.
They're not deep, Vanya says, and the dogs couldn't get in.
A minute later.
We're ending this tonight, Wretch.
She opens the door. This time she's dressed in a frayed black sweater and jeans. Her face is the color of old ashes, and her lips are like chalk. She's lost a lot of blood, but she's still standing. She puts on a pot of coffee and sits drinking a few minutes as you glance outside. The ravens are still there. Finally, she says,
I saw her outside. She left, but she'll be back. When the moon rises. For some reason, I know she'll be back when the moon rises. I've had a lot of time to think, and I have a few ideas. We can make Giselle work for it,
Vanya says, sipping from the oversized mug of black coffee.
She's strongest away from the city, I think. But if we get out into the desert, well, I bet you have a better car.
That's true, but it wouldn't be about driving. It'd be about desert survival, always keeping one step ahead of Giselle. A tough vehicle will help, but only a little.
Or we could stay here and lay some traps. This laboratory is full of chemicals, and I used to mess around with mechanical engineering at UCLA. Can we home alone a witch until she goes away?
Maybe. Though it'd take both manual dexterity and technical acumen, and it might backfire painfully.
There's one final possibility. We know that Giselle was weakest at Kiowa xenogenetics, and there was some areas she completely avoided.
Which ones, you ask?
I don't know, Vani says. She handled security. I was a glorified secretary, but what if there are some scientific process that disrupts her power?
Like praying the rosary to make a vampire flee? You ask?
Does that work?
No. Still, if Giselle's witchcraft really is vulnerable to jamming, maybe you can use Vani's records from KXG and your own scientific acumen to analyze what weakens her. And you do have one final trick up your sleeve. Giselle's magic might be more flexible than your own, but you'd pit the power of your blood against her witchcraft any night. You know geomantic rites to disrupt magic, forbidden words to banish spirits and banes, and wards to bar anything that crawls on the earth or flies through the air. Proving your arcane superiority to Giselle would require iron will and supernatural lore, but it might force her to back down. Alright. You guys, I know people in the comments have wanted this. They want me to actually use blood magic, so you know what? I climb onto the roof, where I'll test my intellect and blood sorcery against Giselle's witchcraft. So we got a Tremere magic! Along with our int and academics.
Are you sure about this?
Vani asks as you check your Kindle grimoire on your bag of notes.
She's dangerous, Wretch. She doesn't have to see you to tear you apart.
Come with me, and don't leave the circle, you tell Vani. You climb up onto the roof and look out on the sprawl of Tucson, with the mountains rising to the north, and begin preparations. Your sorcery combines Latin and Greek traditions with medieval Arabic rites and whatever else you've got your hands on, but more than anything, it relies on your blood. You open your wrists and let the vitae flow down your fingers and spread across the rooftop, forming patterns of intricate geometrical complexity, but flawed patterns. Triangles not quite equilateral, crooked stars, grids that do not meet. Magic, at least the Greek and Arabic rites you've studied, relies on mathematical perfection and rigid control. To recreate them flawed and incomplete is to break their power, and to surround yourself and Vani with a shield against their influence. Vani remains silent in the middle of the circle, where she'll be safest. Assuming this works, assuming Giselle's witchcraft follows the same principles, a sliver of moon crosses the eastern horizon. Reality feels slimy, a state of chaos and possibility, like anything could happen. You felt it when the old Prince of Tucson fell, but you knew what it portended then, and why it was happening. Now it's just raw potential, as if everything solid were ready to crumble and float up to the stars or tumble into the center of creation. Wretch! Giselle stands 20 yards away, on the roof of the hair salon. Ravens and bats blot out the stars, and 2 coyotes flank her. Heck, we're doing? We fighting a gangrel?
Dr. Call doesn't want me dead, Giselle, Vani shouts. We can still work something out. I've been trying to... You're nothing but a nuisance, Vani, Giselle says. Dr. Call will understand when I bring you her head.
You finish your crooked pattern, and the air shimmers. Giselle wastes no more time in banter. She slashes at her wrist with a silver knife, and bats and ravens descend upon you. But your vitae sizzles, and so do they, burning away in midair and falling with sickening little patters.
Enough,
Giselle says, cutting an elaborate rune in her hand. She glances to the coyotes, who ripple with a power you don't understand.
Shatter that static defense. Destroy them both.
The coyotes leap, jaws first and possibly fast. Vani screams, and you grab her to prevent her from leaving your circle. You've been in a lot of car accidents. You've seen flesh hit a windshield at 70 miles an hour. That's exactly what happens to the coyotes. They splatter off your occult defense, dying so quickly they can't even cry out, and tumble to the parking lot, broken. Giselle roars and raises her bloody hands in a third working. Her body starts to twist, and then she screams and falls to one knee as steam pours out of her nose and mouth. "No!" Giselle screams. "I just need... Give me this. He's just a walking corpse!" She shouts something else in a language you don't know. Maybe Old Norse. But the gods do not answer. "This isn't over," Giselle screams. "Yes," Bonnie says. "It is. Tell Call not to bother me again." Giselle implores the gods or something else one last time, but they're silent. Ooh. Alright, so we won the wizard fight.
Do it.
Thank you, Bosros. You know what I'm having in my head. Eat the witch! The thing about it is with Giselle, this is how I legitimize it in my head. She is not living a pleasant existence. Call doesn't need this tool to be used against us, and she's kind of a wild card. I mean, she's here trying to kill Vani. So I think it's good that we go ahead and remove her from the equation. Yeah, Call already said that she's nearly used up. She may thank us later for doing this. So let's go ahead and do what must be done. No mercy. Giselle dies tonight. I don't want this witch coming back. You get ready to finish her off, but then the moon shimmers again and you feel some vast and dreadful will prepared to work its power against you. Tangling with one of these creatures is like fighting in the dark, you realize. You never know when the next blow will come from. You remain tense and ready, but you feel deep in your bones that any direct attack will end in disaster. The air shimmers. So it's a stalemate. Giselle looks like hell. She's paid too high a price to keep fighting, but if you strike, she might be able just to drag you down to hell with her. And then suddenly she's gone. You and Vani remain on the roof until a few minutes before sunrise, waiting for reality to return to normal. It takes a long time for the world to make sense again. But Giselle does not return. You've won. She's probably racked her body in so much paradox right now. Whew, you're gonna be in bad shape. "My office stands," Vani says a few hours later. She's showered and dressed in a light gray sweater and a black skirt. Eyeliner makes it less obvious that she's been awake for a night and a half, or for night after night. "I don't plan to end up like Giselle," Vani says, "and I'm tired of experimenting with Vitae under someone else's directions, in little labeled jars. I want to feel it, not just move it around in test tubes. And you could use someone who knows their way around the scientific and academic world. So I propose a partnership." Letting Vani all the way into your world will certainly skirt the boundaries of the Masquerade. On the other hand, not only will she be valuable in her own right, her research will hone your understanding of the blood. Well, it's time I took my first step into being a proper kindred. I open my veins and create my first retainer. Actually, can we go ahead and look at our stats first? Ooh, dear. All right. Achievement. Regent. Create a ghoul. You're starting to get worried. The Masquerade is growing thin around you. Any more mistakes and you fear that hunters will find you. And when they do, they'll strike without mercy. Bonnie takes a moment to tie her hair back and then kneels. She drinks eagerly, then rises, looking a bit dazed.
I need to study this, she says. I'm going to get to work on some analysis. But when you need me, I'll be ready.
And where to tonight? Boop, 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 boom. Oh, your hunger is strong enough. Yes, we got our masquerade violations. You will find that ghouls require leadership. What is our leadership? Probably not high. Oh, our leadership is 2. No worries then. Time for some more blood. Nova, thank you for that resub at tier 1 for 9 months in a row. Thank you for supporting the channel and supporting the kids. Another graphic artist. I guess there's a lot of those here in this area. Okay, hunger is at 1. Masquerade violations are at 2. Let's do this. So, actually, hold on. Did we get any XP? Figured we would get XP for going stalemate with a freaking mage. Yeah, oh yeah, we got 9 experience points. Yeah! Maybe they were drawn to you. Okay, we're going to go to the Viper. And... oh. Wrong place. We'll leave the Viper. We will go to Paragon Fitness. And I want to get my dex up to 2. That is bugging me a lot. Okay. Now our stats are... we've got 2... like now we're looking like a standard VTM character, in my opinion. Combat is still at 1. We may need to go ahead and raise that. Drive is at 2. Subterfuge, Persuasion. We got nothing in Survival. Which is what it is, but... okay. So, in terms of... let's see what else we've got. Inventory. And relationships. Still great with the Camarilla as well as Julian. Love it. And let's go ahead and leave Paragon Fitness. And we are going to go ahead and head to Biosphere 0. Talk to Leto to learn its exact location and specifications. And hopefully we don't get a tongue lashing for having those Masquerade violations. Why? I don't know why we should get a Masquerade violation. He said we could keep a ghoul. But... oh, Vanny's Laboratory. Yeah, good call, Vosros. Let's see. You park outside Anand Biomedical, and the door buzzes when you approach. When you open it, you're not surprised to find Vani there, but you're surprised to see how much the place has changed. Someone besides Vani obviously works the front office, and the scientist has changed out of her old UCLA sweatshirt to gray slacks and a black safari jacket, its pockets full of notebooks and scientific equipment.
Oh, Wretch!
Vani says, obviously delighted.
Come on in. Let me show you around.
The place isn't that big, but Vani now has 2 full-time employees drawn from her contacts at the University of Arizona. No trouble from Giselle, you ask?
None. And I've heard rumors that Dr. Call has relocated to Seattle, though I shouldn't tell anyone. I was just about to head home and make something to eat. What brings you to Anand Biomedical?
Oh, we can take Vani out for a night on the town? Maybe some other time. Oh wait, you can get like $5,000 from her by doing a simple job? Ooh. Okay, well let's hold off on that until we get our Masquerade violations down. We need to kind of get on the road here, and that $9,000 is gonna help out, I think. Besides, we need to let her get comfortable in her new, her her new vampiric blood-fueled skin. Chapter 8, Biosphere 0. Tucson, Arizona, night of November 30th. Sunrise, 7:06 a.m. You pick Vanny up at Vanny's lab, and then drive to the Viper. You tune the BMW's radio to hear the news.
This is Melpany Chen, and you're listening to Mel at Midnight. Do the dead walk among us? One man says yes. Greg Halden, professor of philosophy at the University of Arizona, claims he has uncovered an elaborate conspiracy of computerized deception stretching back decades that has allowed criminals, illegal immigrants, and scions of the moneyed international elite to establish new identities as the recently deceased. Professor Halden plans to unveil his finding once his Freedom of Information Act request gains him access to a federal database that has tracked immigration and deaths for the past 65 years. You have a long trip ahead of you, and the light is barely faded in the west by the time you roll into the nightclub parking lot. You wait for a moment until you remember that the guy whose name you've never learned, the one with the Ed Hardy shirts, was apparently the Second Inquisition spy. You never learned what happened to him. You head inside. The Viper isn't open yet, and without its crowds and the regular light shining on the bars and dance floor, it looks tacky and cheap. Alexander's behind one of the bars, and he waves you over with an archaic beckoning gesture. Vanny waves back. The two retainers seem to get along.
You have been warned to stay off the highways, yes? Alexander asks. And you got rid of your phone.
You shrug. You're here for information on the job, not so Alexander can interrogate you. And the job doesn't sound easy.
Here I have the GPS coordinates, you tell Alexander. Is there anything else I need to know?
Is there anything else I need to know?
Here, watch out for Mr. Sim's people, Alexander says. They might know the general location of Professor Knowles' cache and try to follow you to the exact coordinates.
So what exactly do you know about Jasper Knowles? I'm curious what this cache might contain.
He was a brilliant researcher until he met his final death at the hands of one of his experiments, Alexander says. He wasn't, practical like the other Tremere, Dr. Cole. His interests were psychological. He wanted to understand the beast, to test its limits. I'm told he studied with the philosophers of the Sabbath before they disappeared.
But what does Prince Leto want from his data cache? You ask.
That's not your business, courier, Alexander says.
One of Dove's retainers beckons for Alexander, and the old ghoul uses her as an excuse to avoid answering any further questions. You circle back to the most important question. Where do you shelter during the day? You can't make the whole trip in one night on back roads, and the Camarilla is in such chaos that they can't tell anyone you're coming. Wrapping yourself upside your car is possible, but it takes skill to secure oneself and cunning to know where to hide where you won't be disturbed. Because if you're disturbed, there goes eternity. And you can't just stay at the first motel you see now. The Inquisition is everywhere, and though you're loaded down with false license plate and fake IDs, anything unusual will draw attention. Trouble here will expose you to the sun, and almost certainly draw enough notice to violate the Masquerade. Tech skills to rig up a portable shelter? Good lord. And we are not going to ask Julian for help. Nope. Investigation seems to be the easiest one to do. And we can send Vanny, but I don't want to utilize our ghoul just yet. I don't want to get her and then just instantly have her die to Second Inquisition. So let's use our int plus academics and investigation. We'll investigate local newspapers and websites to find empty but unsecured buildings where we can stay. After making sure Vani has the exact GPS coordinates for Biosphere 0 and you consider the best place to stop for the day, it looks like your best bet is north of Flagstaff, near the Hopi Reservation. From there you should be able to reach a few nearby towns. Your newspaper research stalls because there isn't much happening out there and local newspapers dried up years ago. But then you switch to academic papers and find recent information that incidentally describes bankruptcies, travel plans, abandoned structures, and other information you can use. The drive is difficult, since you don't want to get too close to Flagstaff. You're forced to circle around the city, but you still hit more traffic than you'd like. When you roll into town, you check out a few places you read about. Most are locked tight. One has been reoccupied already, but then you find the house of a family that mentioned their vacation on Facebook. This town is so small and so Mormon that they actually left their side door unlocked in case people wanted to help themselves to anything in the pantry. You make yourself comfortable in the spacious closet of the guest bedroom. As you get back on the road heading west, you scan your rearview mirrors for signs of pursuit. But it looks like you're clear, and you head for the deep desert. To avoid major cities, you spend a few hours taking back roads, then head north past the Grand Canyon to the southwest corner of Utah, a route that keeps you away from Las Vegas. The side roads are beautiful in the starlight. Then it's a straight shot north up Route 93, a landscape of low scrubs with low mountains in the distance. Everything here is low and humble, except the sky, which is so vast that you half expect a second moon to rise. But it's just you and the stars and the moon, all the way to the coordinates. A few old barns dot the otherwise empty landscape. You memorize their locations in case you need cover for the day. Soon you pass faded, warning, restricted, no trespassing, photography is prohibited signs and a fallen chain link fence. You go off-road to reach the exact coordinates. A black ruin rises against the desert sky ahead, an irregular hulk of poured concrete and broken glass. There are fresh tire tracks on the path ahead, more than Vani alone would have made. A few minutes later, you spot Vani's Fiat hidden behind a rock. Behind it, in the shadows of the ruin, is a GMC Savannah conversion van with its parking and interior lights on. A half dozen people are in or near it. You drift to a halt beside the Fiat and spot your retainer.
They're researchers,
Vani says.
I recognize an ecologist. I think they're here looking for research data, if there's any left.
Regular people? That wasn't what you were promised. You and Vani spend a few minutes watching the group. 6 people, 3 men, 3 women, ranging in age from their 20s to their 60s. Phones, laptops, dedicated recording equipment, enough food and supplies for a week. Ropes, crowbars, helmets with attached lights. They're equipped for some serious exploration. What about the actual structure of Biosphere 0? What can I see? I'm fascinated by what people tried to learn here. The main building is a sprawling brutalist pile, shapeless from any angle. You remember the glass and white steel of the Biosphere 2 ecology experiment from when you were still alive, but this structure is older and uglier. A heap of poured concrete, abraded by the desert winds, its high, narrow windows mostly broken. Other buildings, equally dismal, make Biosphere 0 resemble a particularly grim community college campus. And if your coordinates are correct, Professor Knowles' cache should be somewhere in the main building. More intact than I thought, you catch from one of the mortals.
Yeah, I thought it would be stripped clean, or guarded. Why hasn't anyone...
The desert wind picks up, and the voices fade. You stop double and triple checking everything, a gray-haired man in faded denim tells the youngest member of the crew, a woman with a shaggy pink pixie cut. Let's get inside.
Rick still hasn't shown up,
the woman with the pink hair says. There's a brief conversation about Rick, who is apparently their computer guy. You listen carefully. Another older man, this one in tactical pants and a windbreaker, takes a bolt cutter and snips the chain strung across a metal door. As he moves, you notice he's got a concealed pistol in his jacket. A younger guy with a bushy yellow beard is the first through. He scans the interior with a flashlight, then shrugs and heads inside. The others start moving in. They're moving toward the coordinates of your cache. Not fast, but eventually, they'll get there. Okay. Charisma and persuasion. That is 4. Nothing I really want to work with right now. Manipulation plus the lower of subterfuge and academics technology. Okay, that is also 4, I believe. Is that what that means? Manipulation plus either subterfuge and academics technology, whichever is lower? Is that accurate? Am I reading that correctly? You have no idea? Awesome. Plus lower of subterfuge and academic/technology. It's so strange. I'm not sure what that means. Charisma or manipulation plus intimidation. I know we don't. Okay. So that's 4. We're getting into another 4 situation here, guys. And then wits and awareness. Four. Well, from what I'm seeing here, we've got 4 for charisma and persuasion. We've got 4 for charisma/manipulation and intimidation. We got 4 for wits and awareness. Dex and clandestine is not going to work out for us at all. I think our clandestine is 0. Yep. So, our subterfuge is at 1, and that would be 4. Well, that's the thing. Like, if I go ahead and just go manipulation and subterfuge, that's at 4 too. So I'm pretty much dealing with 4s across the board. That's so weird, though. All right, let's go ahead and try this one out. I'm not sure if this is going to work the way we want it to, but your gear may have mods to the stats. That's true. I don't know if it's going to help with the thing is that my only problem is it's kind of weird. Like, I'm not sure like what that means. That manipulation plus the lower of subterfuge and academics technology, that just sounds weird to me. But we're about to find out. You and Vani cross the dusty open ground between your hiding spot and the metal door. Get one of the mortals between you and the guy with concealed weapon and say, "Excuse me." They jump a little, but you smoothly launch into your spiel. "I'm glad I finally found you guys. I'm Rich from the University of Tucson," you say. "I've worked with Rick before on preservation of old media." "What happened to him?" a middle-aged woman already wearing a helmet asks. Her tone is worried. He's fine, but he asked me not to go into it here. But look, my assistant and I just drove up here on short notice. I'm happy to take recordings of whatever archives you find, but Rick didn't give me a lot of information." "Fucking Rick," the guy with the blonde beard says, standing in the metal doorway. Everyone laughs, and you know that you're in. I'll get you two up to speed, the woman in the helmet says. And thanks for coming. I really mean that. Everyone heads through the metal door. After scouting out the ruined entryway, you help them set up lights in a high-ceilinged atrium, careful to avoid being recorded as they get to work. The group is friendly, and after a few rounds of introductions, you're able to put names to faces. Stephanie, a tall, gaunt woman in well-worn clothes, and Janet, a 20-something with a pink pixie cut, are journalists. Tex, they really call him Tex, and Ophelia are scientists. Ecologists, which makes sense for a biosphere. Tex has a big blonde beard and a big steel crowbar and is excited to knock down some doors. Ophelia, middle-aged, small and wiry, always wears a helmet with a headlamp and carries the ropes. Paul works security and keeps everyone organized. He's the older guy with the concealed weapon. The other guy is Antonio. He's apparently a lawyer with a focus on immigrant rights. The lower between subterfuge and whichever was the highest of the previous two. Okay, that's kind of how I was reading it as well. It's just kind of strange. Vani chats with Ophelia for a few minutes, then returns to explain what everyone is doing here. They're here to find records of the experiments the federal government ran on the prisoners here. The journalists plan on pitching the story, while Antonio has an obvious political motivation for learning the truth. The scientists are there because they understand the nature of the research, though without Rick, the computer guy, they're not sure if they can access the old computers. They're going to need to find the hard copies. After an hour of preparation work in the dreary atrium, the group stops to eat and check Twitter, when you remember that you have a job to do. You leave Vani talking with the others, borrow a GPS device, and head for the exact coordinates. You pass through the gray and crumbling atrium to a section of interior wall that's given way. Faded paint stripes run along the grounds and walls to direct people, but the signs are all gone. Picking your way through the rubble and darkness illuminated only by the group's increasingly distant halogen lights, you step through the hole into an interior courtyard, open to the night sky, with all the cheer of a prison yard. There's your target, right in the middle of the courtyard. Even as you approach, you can see signs of recent excavation. Whatever was down there, it's gone. You stare into the open hole. Of course this was going to happen. It's not like you got out of Kiowa Zeogenetics without having to run a favor for your sire that almost got you vaporized, or drop off your message at St. Basil's without getting dragged into Patermuster's scheme to stop the expansion. There are drag marks all over the courtyard. Whoever moved the cache did it so recently they might still be here. And when you were outside, you didn't see fresh tire tracks heading out. You need to figure out where in Biosphere 0 someone dragged the cache. But investigations will have to wait. It's an hour to dawn, and you still need a place to stay. You head back to the group and explain that you drove all night and that you need to sleep. Then you head deeper into the building. The missing signs make the place hard to navigate, but they left one, and the Westminster-like font says, "Gym ahead." You follow it to a windowless shower attached to an empty gym. A long storage bench is just the right size for vampires. You make sure Vani has a place to stay nearby, and fall asleep. Hunger's at 3.
Holy shit! Holy shit!
The shouting wakes you early. You check your knockoff Tissot. It's still 5 minutes to sunset. Aching with exhaustion and growing hunger, you rise. No sunlight. Okay, that wasn't Vani saying that. No sunlight enters these rooms, so you drag yourself into the empty gym. Vani looks just as confused as you. Antonio, the immigration lawyer, and Ophelia, her headlamp shining, skid into the gym and spot you.
There he is,
Ophelia says. Where were you just now? Antonio says. The old lawyer is suspicious. Of what? Sleeping, you say. And you're convincing because you can barely stand. Vampires look like corpses during the day. What's the problem?
Tex is dead,
Ophelia says. You grab your stuff and follow Ophelia down the winding, unlit corridor full of abandoned furniture to an office complex. Tex is face down on a metal office desk, his throat shredded. There's blood all over the felt partition of this cubicle farm. A brief investigation reveals that Tex has been drained of blood. The others gather around like silent mourners. Stephanie sets up a floor lamp and aims it at the corpse as you look for footprints. You and Antonio follow an overturned metal chair to an adjoining room full of old TV broadcast equipment. But that's where the trail ends.
Do you know what killed him?
Vani is asking when you come back.
I know what was keeping him alive.
Janet says.
His neck. Without that, he just...
Show some fucking respect. Paul snaps at the pink-haired woman. I can't have them discovering the exsanguation in case someone starts thinking about vampires. I figured that we would be more noticeable about that because of our Masquerade violations. So... Actually, I don't know. What do you guys think? Should we go ahead and bury him, or should we just kind of think about the big picture now? It can go either way, really. Because I'm worried that if we don't, someone's going to get wise, and then that's going to be a Masquerade violation. I don't want to see what happens when we get to 3. So that could be a bit of a problem. Yeah, I think I'm just going to go with instinct and just do... Yeah, we are supposed to be exploring and the random dude just buries a body. Yeah. Why Tex? I mean, was he killed specifically, or did the killer just see an opportunity and take it? I'm trying to see the bigger picture. And that's a good question, Antonio says, leaning back against the partition and trying to think. It doesn't add up, Janet says. The journalist sets her laptop up on the corner of the desk. Maybe... Hey, I know. Maybe Tex, surprised a government agent who was just sent to spy on us. There was a fight, and maybe the agent grabbed, some office scissors. Settle down, Laura Bow, Paul tells the pink-haired journalist. You're just guessing and getting yourself worked up.
Paul is right, Ophelia says. No one here's a doctor, so we can't conduct an autopsy. So you're leaving?
Bonnie says, as if it's the most obvious thing in the world, because it is. But the explorers look at each other as if for reassurance. Then Ophelia says,
I saw a walk-in freezer next to an empty kitchen. We can hook up a generator. Keep him here at least until we're ready to leave. What? Why?
Bonnie says.
We're not leaving,
Ophelia says.
Professor,
Bonnie says.
No scientific discovery is worth this. Tex he was on a mailing list I follow. He was a good guy. Get out of this place.
By that she means this whole shadow world that's close to swallowing them up.
I first got interested in Biosphere Zero from an ecological perspective, Ophelia says. But now it's more than that. Our world is dying, Vani, and there are powerful people trying to kill it. Some of them worked here. Some of them are still alive. They're senators and lobbyists, and they taught me biology in college. I'm going to learn their names, Ophelia says, and then Stephanie and Janet are going to tell everyone. She glances back at the two journalists. We're not leaving. So that's that. The group makes sure the walk-in freezer is running properly. That'll serve as an improvised morgue for Tex until they can get him home. Everyone makes sure the freezer is cold enough, which gives you time to investigate the missing cache again. But though you see signs of disturbed earth and drag marks, they end suddenly on the concrete floor.
Bonnie finds a folder labeled Emissions Data, 1945 to 1970, where the drag marks end, but it's empty. You can't find any footprints. The explorers return to their camp in the atrium. They stay close together and listen to Paul, who is a tough guy with a big mouth. And a gun, you remind yourself. He talks a lot about his time in Afghanistan, too. He might be a problem. Their plan is to explore the whole facility and eventually find their own cache, a record of everyone who worked at Biosphere Zero and what they did here. It won't be easy. One section off the atrium is completely collapsed and another's wing ceiling is caved in, leaving it strewn with rubble and dangerous to cross. And the place is huge. But they're determined. Our hunger's at 3. That's not good. Oh, it'd be wise to try and feed soon? Yeah, I figured as much. Unfortunately, we have like a salad bar, like right here. We just have to isolate. How well do you know Ophelia, Vani? And how should we approach this?
We only met a few times,
Vani says.
but she's good people. You can trust her.
So do you think we should help her here?
Absolutely not.
Vani says.
Do everything you can to get these people back in their van and away from this place. We're being hunted. What if the thing hunting us is something that they're, not allowed to see? I know about the Masquerade, Wretch. I know how it gets enforced. Get them out of here the first chance you get.
Now, this place is amazing. Actually, the thing about it is, yeah, if anyone dies, people die. That's life.
That's life.
They can't, they can't blame me. This place is amazing. I look around for anything I can learn. The areas you've explored so far are stark and barren. The atrium used to have a huge map on one wall, but it's long gone. You double-checked the office complex where techs died, but that doesn't seem to have a research area. If you're going to learn more about Biosphere Zero, you'll have to delve deeper. You also head up to the second story of the atrium where a window looks down on your BMW and Vani's Fiat. They're fine, and so is the conversion van. When you get back, the explorers have spread out an old map and are arguing where to investigate first. They fall silent when you reappear. They're a little afraid of you. You might be able to use that to direct their actions. The map is a bad photocopy. Actually, a copy of a mimeograph, but it outlines some interesting sounding areas, all identified with the same not quite Westminster font as you've seen on the walls. Computer Hall, Forest Biosphere Zone, Agriculture Dome, Research Records, Personnel, Armory. I'm getting hungry. Which of the explorers could I target as prey? After considering each in turn, you think your best chance is Janet, the pink-haired journalist. She's young and just scared enough to trust you, without being so scared she might suddenly attack. The main complication is that after Tex's death, everyone's on high alert. Any mistake might expose you as the killer. I lure Janet away from the others and feed on her. You're going to lose control if you get any more hungry, and you want to feed before the situation here gets any worse. So before you set out that night, you contemplate how to lure the pink-haired journalist away from the others in ways that'll give you enough time to feed, but not enough time for whatever else is out there to do the same thing. Manipulation. I know we can do dominate, but I just want to see if we can save that. Manipulation and subterfuge. That's a 4. Charisma. That's a 4. Eat the pistol man. Resolve plus clandestine. It's time to use dominate. Oh, we're probably going to drain her dry, though. Oh, well. Come with me. A good hard compulsion will lure her away long enough for me to feed without complications.
Why? Where are we going?
She says, a journalist even as she helplessly follows you down the corridor. You'll see. Look. You say that without compulsion, just to make her turn around.
I don't...
You sink your fangs into her neck from behind. You drink quickly and deeply, trying not to savor her ecstasy and fear since you have only seconds in which to act. She falls back into your arms, and you lick her neck clean, then keep her propped up.
What happened?
She says. You don't look good, Janet. You say. Why don't you go get something to eat?
Good idea,
she says, wandering back into daze. Get yourself an orange juice and a sugar cookie there, sweetheart. As I've heard many times during blood donations. Maybe we should conduct an investigation of the passageways before we delve into specific areas. Oh, our hunger's at 1. Huzzah. I do have to say, real quick, that the more I'm seeing this system in action, the more I'm liking it. Because back in, 3rd edition, you could only take a 2 or a max 3 blood off of someone without seriously harming them. So now, as long as we're able to sate our hunger, and if we roll well, humans don't die. So it's less math, if that makes any sense. Less having to check, levels and things of that nature, which is good. It seems the feeding is more about quality than quantity now. Well, that's a good idea, Paul says. We've been too slipshod. A meticulous investigation of the corridors take time and patience, but that might be the best way to track down Professor Knowles' cache. Resolve an investigation. That is going to be a nice 5. And then we can check the computers. Yeah, that is the rule, but the only thing that I'm not liking about V5 from what I'm reading in the core is I don't like the humors. There's some stuff in the feeding system that I think overcomplicates things. But like the golden rule in any tabletop game, you can just say, yeah, I don't want to use that. So that works. Curious to see how it's going to be implemented in Bloodlines too. We're going to conduct a systematic investigation of the corridors to learn everything we can about this place. The explorer's maps are incomplete and often inaccurate. A systematic mapping will help the explorer see how Biosphere 0 fits together, and let you cover as much ground as possible looking for the cache. Your work proceeds systematically and methodically. You leapfrog the lights, always keeping everyone in sight as Stephanie takes notes and Bonnie makes sure no one wanders off. After several hours, you identify several places not on the maps. A morgue full of emaciated bodies left to rot. A cafeteria where fighting left 2 jumpsuited men dead of knife wounds. A wall covered in bullet holes and dried blood. An execution site, Antonio thinks. The explorers record everything. You notice a shovel left behind a desk. There's fresh dirt on the blade. So that answers one question. But there aren't any tracks leading to or from the shovel. You convince the others to search this otherwise uninteresting office top and bottom, but the cache isn't there. We're all tired, Paul says. We should get back and get some rest. You head back to camp before exhaustion leads to mistakes. You're not sure that whatever killed Tex is a vampire, but you take no chances. You convince everyone to spend the day in the open courtyard under the sun. As daylight approaches, you notice more drag marks that you didn't see before, and a hinged plastic lid. It might have belonged to Jasper Knowles' cache. You rest in a storage room you find attached to a woman's bathroom, guarded by Vani. So from what I'm seeing right now, I would say either research records or computer hall. What do you guys think? We might be able to use that Raspberry Pi to hack into arcane systems, for lack of a better term. What do y'all think? Research makes sense? Yeah, we do need to hurry before. Let's go ahead and check the computer hall. We'll do the computer hall first, and then do research records after that.
Well, we do have portable generators, Janet says, and adapters to activate the old DEC-10 computers, but our tech guy, Rick, never showed up. If you think we can turn them on, though, we can try. It would take serious technical knowledge to get those ancient machines up and running. We go to the computer hall. Vani can help me restart the old computers. Oh, wait. All you guys are saying research? Yeah, okay, we'll do research. Computers is secondary. Start by looking for their library data. We talked about that earlier, Janet says, looking at Stephanie. It's right next to one of the main science centers, so it probably contains research on, you know, what they did to people here. The problem is it's going to contain huge reams of academic and scientific data that will require analysis. I can probably handle some of it, Ophelia says, but I'll need help since Tex is dead. You need real brains and academic training to sift through the data for anything useful. Let's just go down our options and see what we got here. Now, what rituals could I employ to help me here? You have plenty of rituals to speak to spirits, and you're tempted to ask them the obvious question. Where's Professor Knowles' cache? But even a preliminary arcane investigation leads you to believe that the sorcerer warded this cache against casual discovery, and you don't have time to break down those old defenses. But there is another, perhaps more pressing issue. You are being hunted, and so are these mortals. You cannot establish an impermeable barrier without knowing what hunts you, but you can wreathe yourself and your companions in nested defenses, wards, protections, amulets, and charms from a dozen additions against a dozen unseen threats. It might just be enough. Ooh. Okay. So we can actually protect our food supply. Could we learn anything in the Forest Biosphere? Do you think it's still growing? It is, Ophelia says. We flew a drone over it the first time we came here before we risked going in. Even though the glass is broken, the forest has continued to grow. Not sure I want to wander around a jungle after everything that's happened, Stephanie says, looking up from her notebook. But the drone spotted a research station in the middle of the forest, Ophelia says. It might contain valuable information. If you're clever enough to survive the jungle, even a mini jungle can be difficult to navigate, and who knows what lives there now. Definitely, intelligence and survival. This agriculture dome is the largest single structure in Biosphere 0. Could it tell us anything? Well, our drone flew into the agriculture dome and took a few recordings, Ophelia says, handing you some printouts of what looks like a long-abandoned farm. This is where the subjects, the slaves, Stephanie interjects while checking her notebook. It's where they tried to grow enough food to survive, Ophelia says. What happened to the drone? Vani asks. It just stopped, Ophelia says. So did the other one we sent. Some kind of electrical interference, maybe. But here's something interesting,
Ophelia says, pointing at one of the printouts with a multi-tool.
A monitoring and recording station at the very top of the dome, but we can't access it from ground level. We'd have to climb the entire dome.
That would take considerable balance and athletic skill, but the printouts show cameras up there. Could there be a video archive at the top of the dome? We're not going to know. We don't have dex or athletics. And I bet personnel has information about who worked here. I ask if we should try there next.
Definitely, Janet says. Unfortunately, I've dug through human resources records from this era before. The organization is terrible. We'll end up spending all day just sorting out what's useful.
That kind of academic work sounds mind-numbing, but you bet you could find a lot of information in those HR offices. Resolve in academics. And is there anything valuable in the armory? Should we try there next? Well, I'm sure they emptied it before they shut this place down, Paul says.
True, Antonio says, but it's right next to the security offices. If we could break in there, we might find some interesting data.
Yeah, but we'd have to break in, Paul says, and he sighs. Tex was the one who was into lock sport, and that place is probably still locked up tight. Sounds like a bit of finesse and your lockpicks might get you into the armory. Alright, Dex and Clandestine. So from what I'm seeing here, guys, we have 3 options to do, okay? The German 3. We can go to the computer hall and research the old computers. We can actually do the academic analysis on the data. And then, or we can use the blood sorcery, which is unique to us, being a Tremere, to work rituals of protection against the enemy. I do like the fact that nobody gets our Capri Suns. Or our Dunkaroos. Or Lunchables. Protection also protects us, yeah. But that is an expenditure of blood to do that. So... But by the same token, I don't think anyone... I have this thing that, like, if we go to bed and wake up, like, someone's going to be dragged off or killed like Tex is. I kind of have that idea in my head that that's what's going to happen. So protecting would probably be best, and it's something that is very unique to us because of our blood sorcery. So what do you guys say? Give me a vote here. Should we research, computers, or blood sorcery? Tremere magic. Cat says make with the magic. Chris is always up for Tremere magic. DJ says blood magic. Wretch's magical mystery biosphere. Oh man, that sounds like a great game. Alright. Let's work rituals of protection against the enemy that hunts us. Hopefully that's not going to be a masquerade breach. I don't know how it wouldn't be. But... Before the explorers set out, you head to a plain cement room that stinks of death and loss. You lock the door, open your wrists, and paint runes on the walls in your blood. You work in Greek and Arabic, Sanskrit and Hebrew, covering the walls with every ward and blessing you know. No individual protection is that powerful. Some of these spells might be completely ineffectual, mere superstition, but the accumulation of them will guard you and the other explorers. Alright, so we basically have a panic room now. Hey, and our hunger is still at 1. Nice, it didn't count as a... Now, that's also an important thing to realize in 5th edition, guys. Sometimes, like, you can have a rouse check when you... arouse for your hunger when you do abilities. And if you roll well, you can use, like, blood sorcery without your hunger going up. It just depends on the luck of the draw. Okay, we have protected the food. Now it is time for research. After research, computers. The Research Records Hall is past the office complex and attached to the main scientific wing, which has been stripped of equipment, leaving only bare benches, a few chalkboards, and some framed prints by John William Waterhouse and Frederick Layton stacked up against one wall. I thought it was going to be John Williams. The researchers took almost everything, but Vonnie finds a toppled metal shelving unit full of research notes. You and Vonnie set up some lights and start skimming the data. Most of the books are just lists of numbers, vital statistics, and location date notes. It takes half the night for you and Vonnie even to understand what the data represents.
They're people, Vonnie says. The people they imprisoned here. And these notes, remand completed resources to the agricultural facility for recycling.
They buried them in the agricultural dome, Antonio says, as fertilizer. He grabs his recording equipment and runs for the facility's largest dome. You're exhausted from hours of research, but not so exhausted that you're going to let these explorers run off. Not after what happened to Tex. You bang your palm on the metal table and Antonio freezes. Everyone assemble all your equipment. Together. And then we'll go to the agricultural dome. The dead aren't in any rush, after all.
This is anything like Bosnia,
Stephanie says, illuminated by the starlight spilling in through the broken glass of the huge dome.
From the volume of disturbed earth, I guess at least 50 people were buried here, but I really don't want to estimate until we know more.
Antonio starts taking notes, but you're more interested in the entirely mundane-looking garden shed nearby. It's been opened. Recently. Someone forced the lock, and the chipped metal is still shiny. Oh, it could be with Ghost Cath, or if we're dealing with like a La Sombra, or someone who has access to Oblivion, they could raise all of them as zombies. You surreptitiously open it and find 3 spades, 3 rakes, 3 hoes, and 2 shovels. You already found the 3rd. Fascinating. The explorers spend all night around the mass grave, taking photographs and notes, and they're all going to spend all day there too. It's almost dawn. You rest that day deep in the old medical wing, which reminds you of your time at St. Basil's. When you rise that evening, you learn that last night's explorations have allowed Antonio to get in contact with an acolyte of Buckminster Fuller. The legendary architect refused to be involved with Biosphere Zero, but he talked about it on a few occasions. The explorers now have access to earlier drafts of Biosphere Zero's layout, which should make navigation easier. One of the rejected layouts looks familiar. You think, where have you seen it before? Okay, let's go ahead and restart the old computers. Double check and make sure that there's anything. Evaluate the personnel data. That'll be next up on the list, but definitely computer hall. The computer hall is on the far side of the office complex where Tex died. You follow Ophelia's bobbing headlamp until you reach a reinforced door that reads Computer Hall. The door used to be electronically locked, but it's been left open. You head inside to a vast hall with an unpleasantly low concrete ceiling. Tarps cover old mini-computers and recording technology. DEC-10 machines, reel-to-reel readers, bulky terminals, all cold and silent. As Vonnie helps Janet set up the generator, you wipe dust off one of the machines. It has a manual, so you get to reading, but all you're doing is confirming what you already know. You turn the machine on. Lights flash, reels turn, and the crew terminal blinks online. Vonnie makes sure the portable generator doesn't overload the ancient machine. Interesting. This DEC-made terminal dates to 81, after this place was supposed to be abandoned. Was this Jasper Knowles' own interface? The deckmate is oddly clean, too. When was the last time someone used it?
Names,
Janet says as information flickers across the screen.
Email. Oh my god, these are emails!
This is before the domain name system, so it's just H. Zettler at Panacea, Agrout at UCLA, Ivan Wacom at Shell, M. Randall at Texaco, and so on. I know some of these names, Antonio says. He's a senator now. Rich, please tell me you can print this out. No problem, you say, and an ancient dot matrix printer clatters to life. In 15 minutes, the old Epson has printed out an entire ream of incriminating emails. Antonio is almost weeping for joy, but you're frustrated. Where's the cash? Then you spot the last email entry. J. Knowles at NYC, November 1980.
It took 5 years just to organize everything, but the research is basically complete. The Sabbat cannot be trusted with this data, but they are superstitious cowards. And I've placed a sign of the Black Hand on it, which should at least cause them to hesitate.
The Black Hand? Like the Serbian nationals during World War I? Ha! Ha ha! Sorry. Storyteller knowledge. But maybe Jasper drew a literal black hand on the cache. That might narrow down your search. It's so late it's early, and Antonio looks happy but exhausted. You shepherd the others back to camp. The survivors are in better spirits after this evening's minor victory. They really are selfless and determined to see this job through. You conduct a brief search of the hidden killer. You don't find anything, but your flashlight hits one of the few remaining signs. Spill Zone, it reads in now familiar Westminster-ish typeface. Just like Kiowa Xenogenetics. That area is partially collapsed, the ground strewn with rubble and broken slabs of concrete. Still, it's interesting. You encourage the explorers to investigate that area in particular during the day, then rest in a storage room attached to a garage. Hey, Hellbanner. See, one of the things about this is that if it is a kindred, a vampire that's hunting them, he has to go to sleep the same time we do. So, if one of these guys has their throat torn out during the day, we know that we're not dealing with a kindred. We're dealing with something probably a little bit nastier. Maybe of the lupine persuasion. The next evening, you rise to find Antonio holding up a plastic lid. That spill zone? Antonio says. Strip clean once you get past the broken rocks. I mean completely clean. Nothing left. Not a paperclip or scrap of carpeting. But then we found this. Weird, huh? Very, you say. You're getting close. You're sure the cache is still here. We need to leave, Janet tells Antonio that night. I mean, we have enough, right? They can't just bulldoze this place now. The others join, and after a moment, so do you and Vani. Antonio seems to be coming to some kind of decision. He walks slowly through the atrium toward the spill zone sign. You've never actually been there since the explorers investigated it during the day. It would be easier then, with light shining in from the broken ceiling. You're right, Antonio finally says. We can't stay, but I think we're being watched. I think the moment we leave, someone will come here and wipe this place clean. So what are you going to do with the research you've accumulated so far? I'm curious about Antonio's long-term plans. Well, I have contacts at the Intercept and some people who used to work for Gawker, Antonio says, but I really want to push this higher. The LA Times will be incredible, but I don't have a lot of friends there anymore. I don't want this story to get buried. What is it? You've stopped in front of a blank wall in the spill zone. It's true that everything has been stripped, but this cinder block wall with the faded orange paint stripe, you've seen it before. This was where Jasper Knowles kept the Nosferatu White. The one Julian unleashed on him. To Jasper's destruction. Jasper Knowles' secret snack chamber. Hey, Milikas, how you doing? Okay, we got Hunger of 2, and we are definitely stronger than we were when we originally dealt with that Nosferatu right, and that definitely would explain why Tex had his throat ripped out. I think I heard something. Stay here. I don't want mortals following me if there's a vampire or other masquerade breach right around the corner. You wave the others back and start climbing over the broken rocks, sweeping a flashlight back and forth so you don't twist an ankle. When you drop down, you confront a vertical split in one wall, wide enough to squeeze through. There's a spot of dirt on the ground in front of it. There's less than a gram, but you recognize it.
Oh, damn. Look,
Ophelia says, pointing it out to the others as they clamber over the broken concrete.
Dirt from the courtyard.
What? Stephanie asks.
We were talking about it the other day, Ophelia says. Me and Janet. There's a big hole in the courtyard, like someone dug up...
She looks at you.
Oh my God. That's why you're here, isn't it?
Stephanie kneels down and shines her flashlight through the vertical crack in the wall. On the far side is another room, more intact than the others, and a metal door. We have to be very careful with this. It could be a feral Nosferatu, hell. So we could be up front and just say that we're here for a trunk full of old equipment. But the thing about it is, if we're here for a trunk full of old equipment, I feel that Ophelia and them... The thing about it is, Vito, I think that if we went ahead and said that we're here for a trunk full of old equipment, they would associate us for having worked here, or working for the people who worked here to grab something. You know what I mean? Like, I think we would be guilty via association. I may be thinking too much into it, but that's kind of what I think would happen. They'll keep digging, yeah. What do you guys think? If we're not violating the Masquerade, I don't see a reason. Second or third option? Out of the way, Peck! Yeah, it's kind of, alright, fine, whatever. No reason to waste time when I know there's a door here. I slip through the crack and inspect the metal door. The crack is wide enough to fit the cache, so you have no problem getting through. This room seems more stable than the others. The metal door is ordinary and shows sign of recent use. You test it. It's unlocked. And it opens to reveal a staircase leading up. You take the lead up the wide concrete staircase, your flashlight beam sweeping through the darkness as Vonnie herds everyone else up the steps. A second metal door swings on its hinges, half open. The smell that assaults you as you push it all the way open is rank. Blood, vomit, formaldehyde, worse fluids and chemicals. It's labeled Cell Block 3 in big stenciled letters, and it's either a laboratory or a prison. The far wall is lined with holding cells just barely large enough for a person. The wall to your right is full of old scientific equipment covered in tarps. And you spot a modern Chromebook covered in dust on a metal table. Ahead and to the left is some kind of nest, made of dirty pillows, fur, and secretions. The smell is nauseating. There's an acidic reek to the air. The nest is chewed into the concrete, causing it to rot and crack. And right in the middle of the room, a battered metal and plastic case marked with a stenciled black hand, missing one of its two lids. That's it. That's Jasper Knowles' cache. Well, that's good, but I still need to destroy whatever is hunting me. There's some banging around below. Vonnie, who still isn't quite sure what's happening, falls back to make sure everyone's okay. I'm fine. I just slipped on some... I don't know what this is. It's slimy. Stephanie is the first one through. She regards the room with total disinterest, then turns and fixes you with a defiant gaze. And you know she's the one who killed Tex and has been hunting you for 3 nights. She crosses to the cells. The orange stripes on the wall and the chain that held Jasper Knowles' right are exactly the same as you saw in that video, back at Tucson's rooftop Elysium.
You and I are going to have a talk, Wretch, the one who calls herself Stephanie says. You and me, and the others. Ophelia's headlamp illuminates the ceiling. The explorers will be here to hear what their hunter has to say in about 3 seconds.
Ooh. Yeah, we're not going to be spending any blood right now on something that does not kill. Charisma. Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. Vonnie closed the door. Let me see what my intimidation and persuasion is, though. Manipulation and subterfuge, manipulation and persuasion. Okay, that's 4 across the... 4, 4, 4. And then manipulation and... Okay. So here we go. And thing is that if we didn't get Vonnie, we wouldn't have had her with us in the first place. You know what I mean? Vonnie closed the door. That'll leave her on the other side, but it'll keep the explorers out. Vonnie bounds forward and pulls the door shut from her side. What are you doing? Antonio shouts. That gives you time to easily lock it from your side while keeping your eyes on Stephanie. I've heard about you, Wretch, the one called Stephanie says. Child of Invidia Call, courier to the Camarilla, and whoever else will pay. Do you know me? They gave me a name, though I rarely use it myself. Lampago. Oh, crap. Okay, that's interesting. They described you as a little more than an animal. You're awfully talkative. Now I'm curious. Were people wrong, or has something changed? Jasper Knowles remade me with the secrets he learned here, Lampago says. She glances toward the cache. He was more than a sorcerer. He studied the canite mind. He unlocked the paths it could take to escape the mindless rage and hunger of the beast. He forced me down one of those paths. It was a bloody and awful road. I will never stop hating him. But now I am more than I was. You glance around the room for other exits. There's another metal door to your left, next to the last cell. Professor Knowles was a great man, Lampago says. He was a scholar of the spirit. He wanted to understand what humans and canites could endure, what would break them beyond repair, and what would change them forever. He found his answer here, but it took him decades to unravel what he had discovered. He almost succeeded when Julian Sim destroyed him. Julian took all his latest research, but he did not find my maker's original research. She kicks the box holding the cache. His work was dangerous, but interesting. Are you continuing it? I'm interested in the science of the mind and the beast. Knowles is a Tremere with Tzimisci-ish tendencies. Or, yeah, Tzimisci, they're all about experimentation, at least those who are on the path of metamorphosis. But, I mean, he could be nothing more than just a more curious Tremere than normal. My hunger is only at 2. So.
There are other ways of being, Wretch, than fighting one's beast every night, clinging to a humanity that died on the lips of your sire,
Lampego says.
The Sabbat knew of these secrets. Professor Knowles sought to rediscover them. I am not unreasonable. I know you want this cash. I want first to tell you what I have learned, and then to offer you a deal. Yes, a deal.
You cannot trust this beast-eaten monster, but you're confident you can negotiate with Lampego. Maybe you can reach an agreement and get what you came for. She seems eager to talk, to share what she has learned and become. On the other hand, you'll have to be very careful. She really is a monster, and any mistake here will lead to an immediate attack. Already her flesh is starting to shift and ripple, perhaps heralding some dreadful metamorphosis. Oh crap, maybe she does have, she may have vicissitude. Of course, you could always attack her first. Charisma and manipulation. It's 4s! So many 4s! Common manipulation plus subterfuge. Okay. 4. Charisma and or resolve plus intimidation. Four. Charisma, manipulation, plus persuasion. I've got a feeling. So many 4s. All right. Oh, man. I don't think 4 is going to work this go around, guys. But if we act now, it's a 4. All right, chat. I need you to give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Do we try to negotiate with her? Or do we fry her? I mean, we've got only 1 hunger. Or 2. Probably need to check on that. We only have 2 hunger. So we can afford to rock out some Trumere magic. Put your fancy suit on. Maybe it'll be a 5. But I can't put on the... Yeah, just like, can you excuse me while I disrobe and put on my fancy suit? What do you guys think? Thumbs up or thumbs down? We did close the door to stop the others. And she does seem a bit unhinged. We also took out a mage earlier. Or not, didn't take her out, but... I put in your mysterious emote. There can be no negotiation with this monster. I strike her down while she thinks still thinks I want to talk. Ah! Bad kitty. The transformation is like nothing you've seen before. Lampego rises and squirms with like a huge black shadow. You see only fragments of her. Twisted horns, writhing limbs, black fur, a sinuous form, neither coyote nor puma. Her eyes burn gold. Cat's eyes. and then more eyes open, rippling across her black body like the bioluminescence of some deep-sea fish. For a moment, she settles comfortably on her too many paws. You have your sword, but before you can even hope to strike, a black limb reaches out and nearly takes your head off. You stumble back. Where did that even come from? Lampego is trying to confuse you with her shifting form, and right now you are very confused. You'll need to understand what she's doing before you can fight back. Well, all of her forms are animals, I know. I use my academic knowledge of desert wildlife to guess what form she'll take next. You heard that the Sabbat, before they disappeared, could reconfigure their flesh however they desired, but Lampego is using the same shape-shifting arts many Outlanders use. Even if the speed of her changes is astonishing. You study her with a naturalist's eye, and then you see the patterns. Not tentacles, but a coyote's limbs. Not deep-sea bioluminescence, but the shining eyes of a puma. Huge teeth, but teeth you know. A Rottweiler's heavy jaw. You even recognize the elongated shape, the strange limb attachments, and any number of lizards you've seen on desert highways over the years. She's taking the form of creatures she knows, creatures she's eaten, you suspect. If given more time, you could probably track her travels outside Biosphere Zero from just their shifting forms, but you're not here to study her. Then another claw swipes out of the darkness. You see it coming and dodge to one side, but Lampego overcommits. Her huge, still-growing form slams into the nest that covers one wall. A blast of dust and grit and the stink of vomit assail you as the corroded wall gives away. Oh, crap. Okay, that's not good. Blowing grit blinds you for a moment. When you can see again, the cells ahead and the wall to the left have fallen away. Cell Block 3 now looks out at the agricultural dome. Tree trunks, black in the starlight, rise up outside. Lampego snarls as her limbs coil around tree trunks. The cache is right there, but it's too heavy to lift easily. The door barring the explorers from entering Cell Block 3 is broken, but you don't see them. They must have fled down the steps, without seeing anything, you hope, when the wall collapsed. Lampego roars and lunges for you, but you see the fear in her many eyes. Dex and athletics. Strength and combat.
Round 1, fight!
Okay, well, we've got the sword probably gives me better stats. So, yeah, that's the thing, the sword should mod it. So let's see what happens. I slash Lampego with my blade, forcing her out the hole in the wall. You leap forward and bring your sword down on one of Lampego's claws, severing 3 fingers. Oh god. August 2005. Well, your sire says as the church burns. I warned you, you have a temper. Your beast is screaming to escape the flames, but Dr. Call grabs your wrist and forces you to look. No running away now, Wretch. We must control ourselves, after all. You just blew up the whole Bahari temple, you cry as your beast rages. I may have gotten carried away, Dr. Call says, but let's turn this into a lesson. The dark gifts of the kindred, from the lesser arts to the rites of Tremere thaumaturgy, are almost too much for this fragile world. Our mere existence is too grand and terrible to be hidden, and to ever really let us interact safely with mortals. When our beast rises, whether or not we unleash the powers of the blood, we can win victories so overwhelming that they feel like defeats. Ah, I wish we'd been able to read their copies of the Isiris fragments, but at least I took this. She holds up a gleaming garnet ring. Shame about the mess, though. We should leave before the police show up. Your rage builds as she tries to push you back, and you slash wildly and savagely, cutting Lampego, an old computer, and a corner of the box holding your cache. You scream and drive your blade into her eye, and the monster shrieks in agony. You hit her again and again, parting flesh with each stroke of the blade. She howls one last time, falls backward, and tumbles down into the forest, where saplings pierce her body. For a moment you think she's transfixed. but then she drags herself up and crawls into the darkness of the forest zone. She'll be back eventually, but not anytime soon. You check the cache. Your wild slashing appears to have skewered some kind of old video cassette. Well, you toss that out, but everything else looks fine. And what a trove! You don't have time to sort through everything now, but most of the box is dead media. Reel-to-reel, archaic video cassettes, microfiche. But you open one of the leather-bound notebooks at random, and it's full of thaumaturgical notes. This is it. Bonnie straps duct tape over the missing lid to prevent anything from falling out as you retrieve some straps and hook them up to the box. It's heavy and awkward, but you can carry it, and you head down the stairs with your prize. You reach the base of the stairs. The door that leads to the stairway shudders and cracks, and a wave of choking dust flows down the stairway. When you can see again, the stairs to cell block 3 are blocked off. Our hunger's only at 2. Ba-ba-ba-bum. Okay, so now we need to decide what to do with our merry band of treasure hunters. We can contact Julian and have him, and the survivors can go work for him. It's a big favor to ask, and it might raise a little suspicion, but what they learned won't get out. Unprepared and exhausted mortals can't fight a vampire, kill them, drink their blood. You let them go. Appealing to their own career interest, you can persuade them to remain silent, or at least to admit the overtly supernatural events. And stay cool and conjure up some smoke and mirrors bullshit to explain what they saw. So the thing about it is, though, Kath, I think that if we contact Julian, it's going to be a Masquerade violation. No whiteness, DJ? Okay. So manipulation. Plus. Oh, goody. 4. No, it's alright. And then composure, manipulation, plus subterfuge. I stay cool and conjure up some smoke and mirrors bullshit to explain what they saw, so they think so they think anything except vampires. The thing about it is, with our Masquerade violations at 2, thing about it, I think if we give it to Julian, I'm just going to do that. Let's see what happens. Over the next few minutes, you cough up a glorious wad of bullshit involving MK Ultra, the Philadelphia experiments, Star Wars, the movie, Star Wars, the Reagan-era government program, Jackson Pollock's CIA connections, the history of federal cheese, and the secret mastermind behind the 70s gas crunch. You doubt they're convinced, but they're distracted, and they're no longer thinking along strictly supernatural lines. That'll have to do. Good shepherd. You load the cash into your BMW and get some distance between yourself and Biosphere 0. Then you spend the day in one of the old barns you passed here. Can we see what our... Okay. Then you spend the day in one of the old barns you passed coming here while Vanni stands guard. The moment the sun sets, you get underway again, with Vanni's Fiat never far behind. As you approach Arizona, the news on the radio mentions a fire in one of the towns ahead. You brake, pull over, and think. You can't be sure, but something about it smells like the Second Inquisition. You get to the edge of town, enter an all-night diner, and place a call at the payphone. Prince Lato's ghoul, Alexander, picks up. "It's me," you say.
Always a pleasure to hear from you. Do you have what we asked?
What's going on up ahead? The radio said something about a fire.
Ah, yes. Unfortunately, certain individuals in our organization were indiscreet, and there are complications on the road ahead.
He reads a coded address.
And that is a safe house. Go there, and then continue your journey.
And you hang up. All right, guys. I think that is going to do it for tonight. We're almost done, and we need to decide what we're going to be doing with this information. But we will do that at the beginning of the next stream. And I do want to thank you guys very much for watching. That was a very fun chapter. But if you guys haven't followed the Twitch channel, please do so. I try and stream on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays with random times in between, and we now are playing VTM Night Roads on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Friday nights instead of just the one. So please tune in for those. And if you're watching the replay of this on YouTube, I have a link to the Twitch channel in the description below, as well as a link to my Extra Life page where I'm raising money for my local Children's Miracle Network hospital via the incredible Extra Life charity. So please check that out if you feel so inclined. Like, share, subscribe. You guys know the drill there. And we will see you next time. Later days, everyone.